Delighted to say I'm joined by the Panthers' latest signing on Panthers TV, a second new face now as well for 24-25, and that's defenceman Matt Spencer. Matt, welcome and thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Excited to be a Panther.
Well, it's great to have you with us. You say excited to be a Panther. Just what has lured you in?
Well, it's a combination of things. I think for one, noticing that this league has really become quite competitive, and also the fan support seems to be unbelievable, especially in Nottingham. And Overall, I just thought it was a good move for me right now. Obviously, being able to do some schooling on the side was a big factor for me. But it just seems like a place that was going to be comfortable for both me and my partner, and yeah, I'm just excited to be in the UK.
Talk about the fans in a moment, but you say something interesting about the league. Do you feel, I mean, you're 27 years old. Do you feel that you've kind of become more aware of the elite league in the past few years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I think as Canadians, coming from sort of the NHL, AHL, East Coast situation here for professional hockey, you have an idea of European teams and leagues, and I feel like initially, maybe when you're a little bit younger, the UK and England doesn't always necessarily pop up. But after being in Europe a couple years and just the past I'd say probably even the past months from what I've seen on social media, it seems like the EIHL is doing a great job at promoting themselves. And also it just seems like the fan support from what I've heard, it's just continuing to grow. So, why would you not want to be a part of something like that?
Well, you mentioned the fan support. Panthers are renowned for having a very passionate fan base, big arena, 6,500 people at the Motor Point Arena. How much are you looking forward to playing in front of that fan base?
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. I think that's going to be probably the biggest crowd I've played for or played in front of for a while since being in Europe. Last year, the team I was on did quite well, and we were able to go all the way to the finals. And we got some really great fan support at the end, towards the end of the season. But it was still short of 6,500. So it's going to be something to see.
Yeah, Panthers fans went to Denmark a few years ago actually for the Continental Cup. In fact, to that very rink. So some Panthers fans will have fond memories of that rink. Just
Yeah.
take you back a bit in terms of. I was looking through your stats. You've played, alongside and against numerous players who have played in it or are now in the elite league. A couple of players stand to mind as well. Fabrici, who was here a couple of years ago. Miles McGurty played last season. A couple of guys that you've obviously come across so far in your career.
Yeah, no. It's kind of crazy in the hockey world how often you cross paths, and then, sure enough, a couple years later, you're kind of seeing those guys either on your same team or playing against them. It's kind of one of the great things about it. But both of those guys I remember playing with, and just really great assets on the team. Whether it's in the locker room, on the ice, guys that really are always trying to go as hard as they can. So being around guys that I think share that mentality of always wanting to win, but also, making it fun. It makes things a lot easier when you're traveling across the ocean to come play for a team.
You mentioned the schooling. I just want to ask you a question on that. How obviously that's important. I think, if we'd had this conversation five, even, 10, even 5 years ago, we perhaps wouldn't be having that same conversation. But now a lot of hockey players are thinking not just in the moment, but in the future. Is that where you're going with this? Even though you're still in the prime of your hockey career, you're beginning to consider what might be after hockey.
Yeah. I think that's always been something that's been important for me, and something that my family has stressed, that having an education and being, I guess, at least a little bit prepared for when you're done hockey. I'm not ashamed to say that I don't exactly know what I'm going to be doing after hockey, but I have some ideas, and I think doing some school at this time when reasonably free schedule is very helpful. And it's like, why would you not decide to take that on? And it seems like from what I've heard from ex-players, and also just the things that Omar and the rest of Nottingham has assured me, that it's a very kind of seamless process. And if you dedicate the time and the effort, it shouldn't be a problem, and I'm looking forward to kind of taking that on as well.
Well, I hope to get a chance to sit down with you in more detail, obviously, once you've arrived. But, I just want to pinpoint a few moments in your career. And the inevitable one is when you were drafted in 2015 in the second round by Tampa Bay Lightning. Can you just
Yeah.
kind of put into words, as how old were you there? Just a teenager, how it
Yeah.
felt to have that moment?
Oh, it's pretty incredible for sure. It's one of those days where I look back on it and it is a bit of a blur for sure because I feel like you always have an idea of where you're gonna maybe go, but that could be totally different. And I think it's kind of crazy, just how much your life changes by going from one team to another. And obviously, I was drafted by Tampa. Was super excited at the time, like what a great place, and that was they're still in their kind of dominant phase over the past 5 6 years, but that was when they were really starting to be contenders every single year. And so that's an exciting atmosphere to be a part of. Um, but that day especially, and going so high, it was certainly memorable, and I was glad to have my family a part of that. Um, but you just from there you just go as hard as you can and do everything that hopefully they're looking for. I was with that organization for the better part of 3 4 years since being drafted, and I had great memories there. Unfortunately, it just didn't really work out with that team, but that's hockey. Like it happens, guys change teams all the time. But I look back on that experience and that day, and man, it's a dream. Every kid wants that. So it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing. You kind of started your career obviously in the East Coast in the AHL. You got a few call ups to the AHL. Just how was that? How I've talked to many players before about, the bouncing up and down and how they find it. Obviously, it can be you've all got one aim to get to the NHL, but you have to bounce around. Just how is that when you can't really settle in one area? It must be, a lot of people in the world just settle in one job and do the same thing day in, day out. How
Yeah.
weird is it for someone who has to kind of move around to continue their career?
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of I guess mental toughness. And sometimes in those moments you don't feel all that tough because of course you're disappointed if you get sent down. But I took a lot of those experiences either going up or down as just like a learning experience and understanding that hockey is a business, and at the end of the day, like you need to give your best effort every day. And there's a lot of competition. So, but for me, I don't think it was something that I was like lacking in any reason. It was just, in the AHL, it's funny, some teams are wanting to go for it. Other teams seem like they're wanting to develop younger players a little bit more. It just depends on the year and kind of the status of the team at the time. At least that was my experience. So yeah, it just didn't quite work out. But when I got sent down, it was a great opportunity for me to learn and improve my game. And then when I went back up to the AHL, I felt like every time I went back up, it was I was better off because of it. So taking all those experiences, I think really helped me grow as a player.
And then since you've been away from North America, you've made that transition to Europe. You've your first couple of years in the what's called the ICE, the Ice Hockey League. You went
Mhm.
to Austria and to Italy, and then last year you moved on to play in the top flight in Danish. How much has playing in Europe, do you think, changed you as a player?
That's a really good question. I think honestly, it's just given me a lot of confidence, especially the fact that I've been able to go to different teams and I feel like make a really big impact on each team I've been on. You learn how to adapt to different situations, adapt how to play maybe slightly different roles. And I think a big thing for me is I always want to be relied upon, especially in bigger moments. And the fact that I've been able to do that, pretty much on three different teams. I feel like, that's a really good sign that I'm able to change. I think, as moving to different countries and to different teams, I've really been able to grow and to adapt in that way. Get comfortable in a new city. really just kind of put any extra, um, extra stress or extra things that might be going on in my life and still bring it back to hockey where things are good on the ice. That's sometimes difficult for guys, and I feel like I've been able to do that well. So um, I don't know. I just see the positives in being over here so far.
Kind of touch, you kind of half mentioned it there, I think. But when I spoke to Danny Stewart about you, one thing he said, and you mentioned it there, that you play key roles and you've done that at high levels, and also saying that you'll eat a lot of minutes for us next season. And judging by what you said in that answer there, it's obviously something you thrive on, not just playing lots of minutes, but obviously playing in the key situations, in those crunch situations.
Yeah, no, I think most guys would say this about themselves, but I think for me especially, I feel like I've always played a little bit better in those high stress situations. Maybe it's just keeping things a little bit more simple, but it's something that I've always noticed about myself and pride myself on. So to be able to be put in those positions, obviously it takes some trust with the coach and with your teammates, like learning that you can be that player for a team. But I'm excited to get that opportunity. I know I'm not going to come in and just be given anything. So I'm excited to work just like I hope everyone else is.
Just finally, before we finish, just wonder whether you've made it to the UK before. I spoke to the recent signing Matt Alfaro, who played across Europe recently, and he said he'd made it to London, I think, a year or so ago. Is this your first visit to the UK, or have you been here before?
You know what? I've actually been able to visit the UK and visit London the past 2 years, actually. We get a little bit of a break during November. I had some family traveling with us last year, and we were able to go all together. So that was a real nice experience. Haven't been able to make it outside of London, but I do have some family that's from the UK. So I'm maybe looking forward to getting out to some different areas. I had some family in Southampton, so maybe that'll be a nice trip at some point.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.